She stood in the doorway of her small apartment staring at the morning light as it broke through the thin curtains and spread across the worn wooden floor. She had always believed that ordinary people could carry extraordinary strength, but today she did not feel strong at all. She felt the weight of decisions, failures, hopes, and responsibilities pressing on her chest like a silent storm waiting to break. Her name was Maya, a woman who had learned too early that life does not wait for anyone. She had grown up in a quiet town surrounded by people who never stepped outside their comfort zones. They told her to stay silent, to stay safe, to follow the rules and never raise her voice, but something in her heart always pushed her forward, a whisper that told her she was meant for something greater, something beyond the small boundaries of her world. When she turned 22, she moved to the city with nothing but a borrowed bag and a letter her mother had written. The letter said that courage is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is a quiet decision you make when nobody is watching. Take one step, Maya, even one step is enough to change the road ahead. She folded that letter and kept it with her every single day. The city was loud, fast, and unforgiving. Maya worked long shifts in a small bakery where the air always smelled of warm bread and exhaustion. She listened to stories of people who dreamed big but never had the strength to follow through. She watched their lives pass by in the reflection of the bakery window and wondered if hers would end up the same. She wanted to study, she wanted to help people, she wanted to make a difference, but dreams always felt too far away when she barely had enough to survive. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. recognized the power of her action. Her quiet courage showed that ordinary people could make extraordinary change. The boycott eventually led to the Supreme Court ruling that segregation on buses was unconstitutional. Rosa Parks became known as the mother of the civil rights movement, but she remained humble. She continued to work for social justice quietly. She continued to inspire generations through her example that one person's courage can move a nation. Rosa Parks taught the world that standing up does not always mean raising your voice. Sometimes it means sitting down and saying no. She showed that dignity and courage can be quiet and still shake the foundations of injustice. She proved that you don't have to be loud to be heard. You don't have to hold power to change history. You just have to hold your ground when it matters most. Her story reminds us that bravery comes in many forms. It comes in silent defiance, in simple acts of integrity, in moments when you choose what is right over what is easy. Rosa Parks' life was not about fame, it was about making the world fairer, one small courageous step at a time. She changed America not with anger but with quiet strength. She changed history not with violence but with steadfast courage. She changed the world by simply refusing to move, and in that moment she taught generations that real change begins with a single act of bravery. She grew up in a world where rules were made to keep people like her in their place. She learned early that injustice was part of everyday life, but she also learned the power of quiet courage. She understood that courage was not always loud, it could be small and steady like a flame that never goes out. Long before she refused to give up her seat, Rosa Parks was already part of a movement in her community. She attended meetings, she worked with local organizations, and she helped young people understand their rights. She knew that change was built slowly with patience, determination, and a refusal to accept wrongs. When the bus incident happened, it was not just one day, it was the result of years of living under unfair laws. It was the result of seeing families torn apart. It was the result of believing that dignity mattered even when the world tried to take it away. The simple act of sitting down and saying no sent shockwaves through Montgomery. It made people realize that ordinary citizens could challenge injustice in ways that were both peaceful and powerful. It inspired not just a boycott but a deeper sense of pride and courage in the African American community. It reminded them that they were not powerless, that their voices mattered even when the law tried to silence them. Her quiet rebellion also showed the world that true leadership can come from unexpected places. Rosa Parks did not seek attention, she did not write speeches for newspapers, she simply made the choice to stand for what was right. By sitting down, her actions reminded everyone that heroism is not always loud, sometimes it is calm and determined, it is consistent, it is grounded in principle, and it is brave in ways that the world cannot ignore. Even after the Supreme Court ruled segregation on buses unconstitutional, Rosa Parks continued her work. She became a symbol not just of defiance but of hope. She traveled across the country speaking to people, encouraging them to stand up against injustice in their own lives. She worked tirelessly for education, civil rights, and social justice. She proved that courage is a lifelong commitment, that one act of bravery can lead to many others, and that ordinary people can make extraordinary change. Rosa Parks' story teaches us that change does not always come from shouting, it often comes from quiet persistence, from refusing to accept wrong, from taking one small step when it matters most. It comes from believing that what is right is worth standing for, even if standing means sitting down. She showed the world that the most powerful acts are sometimes the simplest acts of courage, and that history can be changed by those who are willing to quietly but firmly hold their ground. And that is how one woman with nothing but a quiet fire in her heart changed everything for herself, for others, and for the world around her, one step at a time, one act of courage at a time, one life at a time.